Hey everybody, this is Jenny.
And I'm Jess.
And this is a walk in the woods at midnight where we actually, I have to say, we don't necessarily review the movies, though we do give a thumbs up or thumbs down, but we cheat because we do look at some best of lists. We have to disclose that. But what we love to do is look for horror movies that have been, I don't know, that have been pretty well reviewed. And we've gotten a lot of recommendations from you guys too, and keep them coming. Thank you. So anyway, we watch these on platforms that are available to you. They're all, they're all available on, platforms like Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Hulu, and whatever else we can get our hands on when we don't have to get off the couch. So with that, Jess, did you want to introduce the movie that we saw?
Excuse me. We saw Room 1408, which I believe I read in short story form from Stephen King.
Yeah.
A while ago, so long ago that I forgot what it was about. I remember liking the story, but I read it so long ago that I forgot all the particulars. But it was based on a short story from Stephen King. Mm-hmm. It starred John Cusack and Samuel L. Jackson. And when was this movie made?
This movie was made in 2007.
Okay,
and
so
the short story was released in 1999.
Okay.
So, yeah, so it's been a bit. Yeah.
I will just say right off the bat, this spoils nothing. I think that I've seen a lot of John Cusack movies because I really like him as an actor. Mm-hmm. This was an astonishing performance from him. I thought this was an amazing performance from him as an actor. I mean, he went through every single emotion you can have as a person, I thought.
That must have been hell for him. I mean, that must have been so draining. He was basically, for like most of the movie, for like almost all of the movie, kind of, it was like him alone. Yeah. Acting. And I think that without him, I don't know, this would have been just like it wouldn't have been half as good as it was, I think.
Right. I agree. He brought all his acting chops to this movie and it really paid off.
It really did. Yeah. Yeah. So should I go ahead and outline the plot for everyone? Okay, perfect. So you already just a couple of things. So you already mentioned that it is a Stephen King story. And I found out that the director's cut is different from I think it was like the originally commercially released ending. Like the endings are different.
Oh.
So we can talk more about that later, but I did get a chance to see the ones we see as the director's cut. They've gotten rid of the other ending that was sort of like, yeah. I mean, I was able to find it, so clearly it's out there, in internet land.
The original was?
Yeah.
What we see is the director's cut, and the original. Okay.
Yes. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. So basically, John Cusack is he's Mike in the film, and he's not a straight up horror writer, but he's sort of like a travel writer of like spooky hotels he stays in, and he sort of like reviews them, and it's basically kind of like, bullshit, because he doesn't believe in any of this stuff. Nothing happens, but he wants to sell a story. And he also says that he really wants to believe in something. And and he doesn't. He mentions that several times, that he doesn't believe there's an afterlife. He doesn't believe in God. He doesn't believe in anything. So this is sort of a way for him to kind of try to explore, to see if there is something after death. So he let's see, I don't want to go into like way too much detail. Basically, he's at a book signing. He goes to a book signing because he's this famous author who, does these sorts of books, although it doesn't look like his book signing is that well attended.
No, it doesn't.
And so he's kind of a hack now, and so he, afterward, he signs books of, a few people, and one young woman goes up to him and brings him a book of his earlier novel about like a father, whatever. We know that it's about a father and child. And so she talks to him about it, and he said, well, that guy no longer exists. And so she says, the dad in this was a real asshole. Is it true? And he said, no. But yeah, he is a real asshole, I think he said. And then she said, would you ever write something like this again? And he said that was a different person back then. So basically the next thing he does is he kind of like goes to get his mail, and he sits down. He's like shuffling through letters and stuff like that. And he sees a postcard that says, do not stay in room 1408. And I think it's from the Dolphin Hotel in New York City.
Right.
So, so anyway, I should have seen which hotel that is and stay there one day, like where that real hotel is. I'm sure it's renamed as the Dolphin, but but like the hotel, like where did they film it? I have to find that out. So anyway, so of course he's intrigued. He goes to New York City, and Samuel L. Jackson is the manager. John Cusack tries to check in. It says on the computer, please alert the manager when this guy arrives. So Samuel L. Jackson is basically like, you cannot stay here. Like, I'm really begging you, like, please don't go into this room. There have been 54 deaths in this room. There have not only been like these crazy suicides, but there have been a lot of like natural deaths, which aren't necessarily, seem all that natural, or they seem natural, but it's an awfully high number for a single hotel room. Yeah. So he tries. Sorry, go ahead.
Excuse me. He had Mike had to get a lawyer to get him to stay in the room because they wouldn't rent the room to him, and they had to threaten to file a lawsuit to get him to stay in the room, because there's some New York City law that says you can't refuse to rent a room to somebody, because they wouldn't over the phone let him stay in the room. So his publisher got a lawyer on it, and he made a reservation for the room. And then that's what leads to Samuel L. Jackson trying to convince him, please do not stay in this room. And that was a long emotional scene of Samuel L. Jackson trying to convince him not to stay in the room.
Right. He gives him ample warning, complete with a giant book of terrifying photographs of all of the deaths in the room, and also a bottle of extremely expensive, like scotch, I think it
was cognac. Yeah.
Cognac. Okay. Nonetheless, John Cusack cannot help himself more than ever. He's super intrigued. Gotta stay in this room. He goes up to that floor, which is really 1408. It's the 13th floor, because they hotels many of them don't have a 13th floor. They call the 13th floor the 14th floor. And it's interesting because there's a lot of the number 13 in this movie. So Numbers added together equal 13. It's, 13 is appended to different numbers. 13 is everywhere. So that was kind of, that was kind of like a cool fun fact that I sort of saw. Like there was something like, there was this mailbox key, something like he added up the numbers of the hotel room on the postcard equals 13. There were
1408 equals 13.
Yeah, exactly. So it was, so there was a ton of that throughout the movie. I wish I would have noticed it just slightly sooner, because I'd be interested to count the number of times when I can catch it. So anyway, so where was I? Oh, so he goes into the room. So Samuel L. Jackson is like, I'm staying in the elevator, you go ahead. So he goes down the hallway. He sees a woman and a baby go into the room next door to his room, I think it is. And then he goes into his room, and it just looks like a comfy, like sort of old-fashioned-ish, nice hotel room. It looks like a swanky-ish hotel room in New York City. So anyway, he's sort of like, whatever. So
is this when spoilers start?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe we'll say this then. A series of strange events start to occur that get him to question his original thoughts on the afterlife. Becker?
Sure. Okay.
Okay.
Spoilers start at 11:48. Okay. Now you can spoil.
Okay. Okay. So the first thing that happens when I think it's the first thing, like the radio spontaneously turns on, which is easily explainable. It could be someone set the alarm, whatever, but it's the Carpenters. It's only just begun. We've only just begun. Yes. Yeah.
We've only just begun. Because the idea is the room is alive, and it's
Yes.
And so the room's telling him, dude, we've only just begun.
Yeah. And people get, Samuel L. Jackson says, I think he says something like, it's people never, it's basically like people are dead within an hour in that room or something.
Yeah.
And so, that happens. He shuts it off. And then he, turns around, and like his bed is turned down with chocolates on.
And freaky.
Yeah, that was super freaky. And he was sort of like, okay, because when he reviews these hotels based on scariness, he like the hotels a lot of times get additional business because people want to be scared and see this stuff and whatever. So he thinks that it's someone at the hotel who's just kind of messing with him. So he's looking through everything.
And the toilet paper was folded over.
Yes.
And the mitts on the pillow with turn down service. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think it's then that the radio turns on again, and it's, we've only just begun.
And the countdown starts on the radio.
Yeah, and it reshuffles the numbers, and it says 60, and then it does start to count down, which just terrified me.
Me too. I thought, whoa.
I know. I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. So after that, I mean, we can kind of, we kind of outline just a few of the things. So kids, I think it starts like where he kind of can't remember what's going on. Like he starts to really question whether or not he's in his right mind, because he's seeing things. He's like, I mean, I think one of the next things he sees is like a guy who goes and like jumps out the window, who like commits suicide, like a ghost who's all staticky kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's assuming either that he's like that the liquor that Samuel L. Jackson gave him was dosed with something, or So he's kind of trying to cling to, he's just like, okay, a couple hours, I'm going to come down and it'll be fine. And he is, in fact, not fine in a couple of hours. But throughout the film, we do see different different ghosts and a lot of flashbacks to his life before that point in his life. And we get to kind of see, and he even says that he's a selfish dick, you know, that he goes through and he's trying to escape the room, and he's, you know, his hopelessness has kind of closed him off from everything. He goes up into the vents to try to escape, and he looks down and sees scenes from his life, where he's being a douche to like his wife with their baby, and like his dad, who's clearly has dementia or got it after he had had this weird exchange with him. It was really, really sad, and it was really so they did so much character drawing in those scenes that him being just totally, these realizations coming and everything just sort of breaking free in his like sad life where he's just kind of wasted everything.
These weren't hopeful visions that he was seeing. He was seeing his daughter dying when she was young and fighting with his wife over it, and you know, these devastating memories and stuff, all these hopeless memories of loss and yearning and devastating memories that were just awful. You know, it's not like he was seeing a bright future in front of him. These were, you know, the things that were tearing at him.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
His dad and his daughter and things like that.
Yeah, exactly. And his wife. It seems pretty clear that he was sort of numbing himself with alcohol, so he couldn't feel that intense pain. I think, and he like, so he was like self-medicating, and he was I think that there's that scene where he and his wife are talking to their daughter who has cancer, and she's dying. She's probably, I don't know, 8 or 9 or something, maybe. And so she's sort of asking them about the afterlife, and is it beautiful, and is it, you know, and they both say, yes, it is, and I truly believe that. And then afterward, you see him fighting with his wife, and he's saying, like, if we filled her head with all of these crackpot stories about there being this beautiful place, that she didn't fight hard to stay alive.
Oh yeah.
So right. So he blames himself, I think, and he also blames his wife, both erroneously. I mean, it's a ridiculous kind, I think, idea that, you know, I mean, he was grasping at straws for something or someone to blame for this.
Yeah.
He completely loses his faith. He becomes just a total loser hack writer. So here he is going through everything all at once.
Yeah, and the scenes in the room are remarkable because they show him going through multiple phases of either going crazy or the room playing major tricks on him.
Or like the grieving process, the 5 phases of grief or whatever, the denial, anger, hopeless. I don't know. There are like those 5, you know, stages of anger in like psychology, or maybe it's 7. But he goes through. He goes through each of those in the room.
Well, and the room is messing with him by making it too hot. And then it becomes freezing cold so that there's like snow and ice on the ground.
Yeah.
And then at one point the paintings change and come alive.
Yeah.
He does go up into the vents to try and escape. At one point, he goes out the window on the ledge and tries to escape, and realize, which was really hairy. And he realizes there's no other windows on that part of the building except for the 2 windows of his
room.
Yeah. And the vents lead nowhere except back to his room.
Yeah.
And there are ghosts. He's seeing visions of all kinds of different things besides the ghosts. He's at one point there's a painting of a ship, and the ship comes alive, and I forget what he does. He does something to the painting, and
he like hits it with something.
Yeah, and all the water from the ship pours into the room and almost drowns him. The room just fills up with water. It almost drowns him. At one point, he tries to reach his wife on his computer. With his computer camera.
Yeah.
She's there in New York City, and he's moved out to California. But I thought, now I didn't put it together. You've obviously put it together that the room was messing with him with the 5 stages of grief.
Yeah.
When was the point where he accepted it?
I think it was at the end when he sacrificed himself.
Okay. That's what I
to
think.
Prevent for more people from having to go through this over and over, I think.
Because the most remarkable part of the movie to me was when he woke up in the hospital bed. His wife was there. I mean, I really thought that was part of the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought he had dreamed that part of the movie. I had no idea that he was going to end up back in the hotel, that he dreamed the other part, that he was back in Hermosa Beach. And by the way, let me just say, nobody drives up to Hermosa Beach to go surfing and finds a parking place right in front of the beach. That was clearly bullshit.
Is that your old stomping ground?
No, but I know Southern California well enough to know that nobody just drives right up in front. I mean, for purposes of this movie, but where I went to Hermosa Beach, we'd be 3 miles down and we'd have to hump our surfboards up to that spot if we wanted to surf.
And it's interesting because it's during that surfing, like at the beginning, he's sort of like, after he, it's very plausible that he, the water kind of like when he hit that painting, he starts drowning, and it pulls, and then it pops him up right where he sort of was to begin with, because earlier on he had gotten hit on the head with a surfboard.
Right.
And I don't remember if that's before. I think it's before all that weird stuff started happening. I think it's before he got the postcard.
Right.
And so he's out, he's woken up, his wife is there, they're open to one another. It seems really, sort of like wonderful. He writes this really authentic book from his heart. Everybody's thrilled. He's gotten past everything. But really, we find out that, in fact, he hasn't, and it's just more proof of the room screwing with him, because he starts to, there's a lot of, it's definitely based on a cycle, all of this stuff, because it's like the clock hits 60 and then it goes back again and resets. So it's done, it hits 0 and then it goes right back to 60 and 60 seconds or 60 minutes.
And when he comes to, the room's just a disaster area. He has just trashed the entire room.
Yeah.
Trying to escape it, trying to defend himself, trying to make sense of it all. But I mean, the room is destroyed.
Yeah.
It appears to be destroyed at that point.
Yeah.
I can't remember the very end if it was still destroyed or if it looked good now.
At the very end, it was destroyed.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we kept getting these phone calls from this disembodied voice saying, "Are you ready to check out now?"
Yeah.
And then there'd be like nooses hanging around in all the rooms.
Yeah.
Like, "Are you ready to check out? Check out."
Yeah. Yeah. So it really was sort of like really feeding off of this hopelessness. And in fact, when he goes to the drawer to open the Bible, which at least in the US, it's weird. It's always in hotel rooms in a side drawer in the next to the bed. I don't know when that started.
That'd be
Whatever.
a good thing to find out.
Yeah, yeah, and they still seem to do it. And so anyway, he goes for it and he looks at it. He had kind of like ruffled through it earlier and kind of threw it to the side. And when he looked at it this time, the pages were blank. It was like, sorry, too late. You can't manufacture you can't like get your faith back now. Like, it's too late. They wanted him to be utterly destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think at the end, because he was determined not to give into the room, he decided he knew he was going to be trapped in that cycle forever, just like those other ghosts were. They just keep, sobbing and jumping out the window or doing, it's like all of this stuff. It's just like repeated cycles. And so he figured that out. He knew what that was, and he decided to make this big sacrifice of destroying the room along with himself. And so I think that is kind of the way that I feel. I'm sort of torn as to whether that redeems him or not. Because at the very end, he's in that room, that totally destroyed room, destroyed by fire, which he had set. And his daughter's calling to him, and he like turns and goes toward her.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, I guess it's like the daughter was always dangled in front of him, sort of as a reminder of exactly what happened with his daughter dying all the time, like over and over.
Yeah.
And so I was sort of like, is that really like, has he regained his faith and that's really his daughter calling to him? Or is it just him being trapped in this cycle further and it's just more? I don't know. So what did you think of the ending? This is the director's cut, which is what's available now.
Right. I like the ending. Now, what part is the ending that we saw?
So good question. I think it's like things end in the original ending with him. He wakes up from the coma or whatever, from kind of half drowning, whatever, surviving drowning. He goes, I think he like gets back together with his wife and they're talking, and he has his tape recorder, and he plays it, and it was like his daughter's voice was on there, or he burned the room and he was in the hospital. I can't remember which one it was, but there wasn't like that loop around again. Oh. It was like he woke up and then they were, the wife forgave him. They were back home, and he played his little tape recorder in front of his wife, and it was Katie. It was their daughter's voice on it. And so she kind of says something like, we've got to destroy this. Like, let's move on. Let's get rid of it. And he was sort of like, no, we have to live with our pain. We have to learn to live with our pain and not you cannot go around it. Like, you have to go through the pain directly, or else you have to live with it. It's going to be there, and you have to maintain whatever it is, your faith or or your will to live or whatever it is that wants to keep us, wants whatever it is in us that wants to keep us alive is, I think, whatever he's attaching himself to. And, so he's not going to let himself drown in his grief, but he is going to face it.
Huh.
That's kind of what I thought. Or I'm sorry, that's the original ending. But yeah, the director's cut, which we saw, was different, and it had
I like this ending.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I did. I especially like the jump scare with Samuel L. Jackson in his car at the cemetery. That I actually jumped out of my chair at that jump scare. Scared the hell out of me. I didn't expect any shenanigans that late in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I kind of liked the idea, because when it happened, when he woke up, and then it was like he was still in the room, and then I was kind of like, do we really need this? Like, does the movie need to keep putting this character through this? Or could they just skip that and show that he's sort of accepted his pain as something that you live with? It's like the Babadook at the end, where they don't try to kill that monster. They put the monster in the basement and they feed it, and they live with it, because you can't get rid of it. Like, you have to live with it. It's just how it goes. You can't, if you try to go around it and medicate yourself, you end up like John Cusack in room 1403 or 1408.
Yeah. Okay.
So that was kind of my thoughts on it.
So you preferred the previous ending?
The original one, and not the director's.
I have to see it now. I'll
send a link to you.
Okay.
On like YouTube or something. I think I found it, but because I was kind of one thing. So I don't know if you saw Gerald's Game.
No, you saw it, and it did. Yeah, you described it to me.
Yes, yeah, and it was another Stephen King adaptation. And the weird thing is that the ending. Well, in that one, I think the ending just wrecked the movie. It was so bad. I wish they just cut it off and not even end it. Like, just leave, whatever. I thought that all of the movie up until then was excellent. And it really was that actress by herself alone facing, different things in her life and in her mind, and everything was very similar. And in this one, I really thought, and I didn't read the short story, so I don't quite know how that ends. But it's not. I didn't love it. I wanted him to. Oh. I wanted it to be like the Babadook. I wanted him to live, because that to me is like, I stop and I go like, oh, damn, like, yeah, that's true. Like, I can live my life afraid of stuff and shove it deep inside me, or I can take it out and look at it and go, all right, here's all my crap. You gotta like move forward. You've got to like look at it, and you can't go around, so
okay.
I don't know.
I will say that I liked the ending where I think that he was just angry enough, and he missed his daughter enough, and he felt his life was empty enough where he just said, this ends now. And he said, I'm tired of being messed with this room. I'm not going to take it anymore. I can see what was going through in my opinion, I can see what was going through his mind. He, based on his, the illusions that were popping up were always of his daughter, not really any of his wife, mostly of his daughter.
Mostly of his daughter, yeah.
Yeah, so he missed his daughter terribly, and I think he was willing to take the chance that maybe she did exist in an afterlife. And he was living kind of an empty life, as I think was exemplified by that book signing.
Yeah.
I mean, because he started out writing an excellent book about his terrible relationship with his father, and then started writing these hack books about ghostly motels. So I feel like the end was his just saying, I am not going to take it anymore from anybody. I am going to go out on my terms, and I'm taking this hotel room with me. And maybe there's a chance I'll see my daughter. But either way, I'm not getting pushed around by this hotel room.
By this goddamn room anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now.
Did you see that then, the ending, that was a redemption and that his daughter calling to him was real? Like, was him getting into heaven?
When his ghost walks through the burned out room?
Yeah. Yeah. Toward his daughter's voice.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that makes, I mean, I think that makes sense. I think it's, I mean, and I think that it definitely, does work. That, I think that ending works too. I felt like it was a little too long. I wasn't bored through any of it. It was like fun to watch, but I felt like, not like I don't want to spend 2 hours watching something. It just felt like the old editor could come in and hack, that's not improving the story. This is not relevant. So
well, it just had so many surprises for me that I enjoyed it from beginning to end, because there were surprises for me that I was just like, whoa, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely had a great time with this one, really from start to finish. Like I said, in order for it to have, maybe, for like, in my mind, to have bumped it to my next fave level, I wanted it to be a little bit more, I wanted it to be a little bit more like, somehow more what I would think of as significant in my mind. Other people might find the other ending more significant, but yeah, I really, it was super fun, and it was super engaging and engrossing. It was really great.
Yeah, and I just think he did a terrific job of acting, since it was all him.
Oh my God, yes. I mean, wow. Yeah, it was incredible. Yeah, because it was basically like a one-man performance against something completely pretend, and him just unraveling. So it was, yeah, it was really cool.
So I think it sounds like I liked it a little bit better than you did. But we both feel like it's definitely worth watching.
Definitely. I think so too. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Really good.
Fair.
I'm gonna still way give thumbs up to it.
Okay, good.
Not necessarily because I'm an easy grader, but just because I think that it deserves it. It's really, really great.
Yeah.
Great character development. Yeah.
And I highly recommend it, just based on John Cusack's performance and the number of jump scares and his mind unraveling as the hotel room messes with his mind within 5 minutes of his being in the room.
Yeah, yes.
Just messes with it the whole way through. And I love the idea of an evil room. It's just so remarkable.
I love anything like that's haunted house-ish for whatever reason. I don't know what that says about me, or if that says anything about me.
Cool.
It'd be interesting to figure that out. But yeah, anything like haunted house, haunted room, whatever, it's kind of terrifying.
Yeah.
Maybe because it's so like familiar. I think home is the worst for me, because it's like, or is the most scariest for me in a fun way, because at home you totally just let your guard down.
Right.
You sleep there. It's safety. It's, so when something disrupts that ain't good,
Right.
So yeah.
Good. Well, we both agree that you should see room 1408. So on behalf of Jenny and myself, thank you for watching, and we appreciate all our viewers. If you could give us a like or leave a comment, we always respond to comments. We appreciate your watching, and as always, peace and love, peace and love. Thank you for watching.